first treat we're making are these cookie dough bars. They're delicious and they're raw, so good. So I'm using almond flour. I love almond flour because it's high in protein. It's got lots of healthy fats, which is going to shut down those sugar cravings. I'm adding in some coconut and some vanilla as well for a bit of flavor. And vanilla also has lots of antioxidants. Then you're just going to mix this up, and this is going to be making the base of our dough for our cookie dough. Now, we're not adding egg or anything because it's going to be raw and we don't want salmonella. So I'm adding in a little touch of maple syrup just for a little bit of sweetness, and then mixing that together again until you get like a nice cookie dough shape. Then we're going to be adding in some dairy-free chocolate chips. I like ones that just don't have dairy, and they are free of allergens, and they're also free of egg and all that as well. So I would say about 3 to 4 tablespoons of that. And then I'm using a baking dish that I lined with saran wrap just so that it's easier to cut out the bars. And I'm using some nice cream that I made in my last video, the salted caramel one, and putting that in the center, but you can use whatever you like. I'm going to leave all my different ice cream flavors down below. I've made mint chip, peanut butter chocolate, strawberry, cookie dough, salted caramel, and then blueberry lavender. So that will be in the description. Then you take the other half of the cookie dough that we made and you spread it on the top. You're going to pop this into the freezer, I would say overnight or at least like 4 to 6 hours. And then you can use a knife to cut it into bars and you will have these wonderfully raw cookie dough bars, and they're delish and the perfect after dinner treat. Next up, we're making stuffed banana pops. And I've seen banana pops on like Pinterest and Instagram before, but I've never seen them stuffed. So that's what we're doing today. So of course, you're going to need bananas, and I'm cutting them in half for this. And then you're going to be taking your popsicle sticks and you're going to be putting them into the banana. You want to put it far enough that it secures it, but not too far where it pokes through. So do that to as many bananas as you like, or as many banana pops that you want to make. Then I'm going to be taking some almond butter and I'm putting that on the tops of our bananas. If you're allergic to nuts, you can also use a sunflower seed butter, which is just made of sunflower seeds and it's really tasty. So about a tablespoon or a little less than a tablespoon onto each of the bananas. And the healthy fats also help to blunt the sugar from the banana. We're popping those in the freezer, and then to make the chocolate to cover the outside, I'm making like a paleo chocolate that you guys have seen me make. It's literally just cacao powder and coconut oil. Sometimes I add a little bit of maple syrup, but I find that the sweetness of the banana here, you don't need that little bit of maple syrup. Now I'm using a jar for this because this makes it kind of like taller so that when we dip the bananas, it can go higher up on the banana versus using like a bowl where you're not going to be able to dip it as deep, if that makes sense. So you stir that together, and then we take our bananas and almond butters that have been chilling in the freezer and we dip those. Now, because it's actually like so cold, the bananas are going to harden pretty quickly. So you just dip them in and then they will set quite quickly. And then you have your wonderfully frozen bananas. These are such a good treat to have. Plus, I love that they're stuffed with a little bit of nut butter. It makes them just extra tasty. And lastly, we're making these cheesecake bars. So I'm starting off with some cashews, which is going to help make the crust of these bars. So you're going to need half a cup of cashews along with a 1/4 cup of almond flour. You can also use like a pecan or a walnut here. Any kind of nut will work instead of the cashews. Then I'm adding in a tablespoon of coconut oil as well as a pinch of Himalayan salt, which is great for balancing your pH and also is full of just essential minerals for your body. You're going to blend that up and then press that down into your pan, and this is going to make the crust of our bars. Just make sure you press it down nice and tight so that it forms once we chill it. Then to make the filling, I'm using 1 cup of coconut yogurt along with a 1/4 cup of the thick part of the canned coconut milk. So you need to refrigerate the coconut milk overnight so that you get this nice thick part, and then you just whisk it together. And I love that it adds a bit of like creaminess to the yogurt, and you don't really taste like too coconutty, if that makes sense. It tastes a little bit milder than coconut. Then we're going to be using a little bit of lemon juice squeezed fresh along with some gelatin. And that's also what's going to help the bars kind of set a bit more and get like more solidified. So I use a scoop of that into the lemon juice and I stir that up, and then I'm adding that into our mixture of our coconut yogurt and our coconut milk. And again, this what really helps the kind of cheesecakey set. Otherwise, it would become runny once it defrosts, if that makes sense. So you need either gelatin or agar gum in this recipe. And then you whisk that all together, and it's going to start to thicken after we chill it, so don't worry. So you're going to pour that into your crust with your dish or the dish with your crust rather, and scoop that in. And then we are going to start making our fruit or berry swirl. So then for the fruit, we are going to be using a cup of berries. You can use strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, even cherry. And then you're going to be adding in 1 tablespoon of tapioca starch. And that's what's just going to help it, again, kind of thicken a bit so that we can get a nice thick swirl. So keep stirring that up and mashing it until you get chunks. And then I'm just putting 3 spoonfuls on the top and kind of swirling that in to make it look really pretty. You could definitely add it completely to the coconut cream if you want it to be completely berry flavored, or you can just add the swirl in. We're going to chill that for about 3 to 6 hours, and then you can cut that into bars, and they will be yummy and delicious cheesecake bars. This is so easy to do, and I love that you can just change up the fruit. It tastes decadent, but the healthy fats from the coconut milk and the coconut yogurt are really going to satisfy. And those are your cheesecake bars. They turned out so good, and you can store them in the freezer.